Hey everyone, you know it's time for another great episode, and this one will be tackling tips and tricks when you are giving presentations on the topics of level design. Hey everyone, I hope you're well, playing on making the games that you all love. You're joining me, your host, Max Perez. Absolute pleasure to be with you, whether you're listening morning, evening, or night. I hope that your family are safe, and thank you very much for taking time out of your day to listen to the podcast. So yeah, this one I thought was a very interesting one because I've been doing, by the time this comes out, third conference this year, so I've been out again doing talks. I haven't done that really like a proper one since before the pandemic, so it's been nice to be able to get out there again and meet new people and go to these events. I've been able to make great friends, so Dan and Michael, thank you very much, my boys. It's been an absolute pleasure out there, as well as others incredible ones as well. Al, pleasure, and many more. Makes me wish I didn't name them now. All someone's going to play. I didn't say their name. The big thing though that I noticed is obviously there's so many incredible talks that I've been able to go see. Evan, yours, mate. Yet, how do I say? There's so many great talks I've been able to see, but there's so many more people coming up to me asking about giving talks. Like, how do you do it? They don't think that their topics or their experiences is quote unquote worthy enough, which is just ridiculous. And it's kind of encouraging all of you who are interested in giving talks to give them, to really think about what to do. What do I consider when I'm giving my talks? What it is that goes through my mind, and what really can we do to be better at giving talks. Now again, I'm not perfect. There are flaws, there are errors in things that I do, and there's still elements that I'm still improving on, right, and trying to figure out what is the best way to solve these aspects myself. So I really want to just again say that these are just friendly tips, reminders that can hopefully help you as well. So I think the first one is really picking the topic. Well, actually, rewind. First one, let's go experience, right?
But first, let's have a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is none other than me. What I've done, everyone, and I hope you're excited for this, is I've actually created a level design kind of store. What I've done in this store is put up different kinds of tips and tricks that you can find there, whether that be my actual ebook itself, to that of level design pamphlets focused on different things such as traversal, stealth, breaking into the industry, as well as different talks that I have done which you cannot find anywhere else other than on this store. So if you are looking to improve on your level design skills and processes, then check out the Level Design store, which will be down in the description below, where there'll be a link to find this. All you need to do is head over to gumroad.com/level design lobby. I hope you like what you see, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you, and now back to the show.
And I want to just state this, not because it's a bad thing, but if you are junior or an intern, probably hold off on giving talks, not because you're not valid, but you've still got so much to learn. So I'd say really you should be giving talks roughly when you're intermediate or above. And this is just my opinion. If you're a junior and want to go give talks, then go for it. The reason that I don't encourage that so much is because even if you're going by yourself, you're obviously going to talk about who you work for, and that means you have to represent for them. And juniors normally aren't given any kind of PR training. And I'll just state this, right? Even if you're going for yourself, trust me, anything you say can be taken and used for journalism. Like, for example, recently I've been going off and giving a talk about designing for Cyberpunk. And as many of you know, no longer at CD Projekt Red. But I didn't stop people taking the talk and kind of not necessarily saying anything bad, but almost twisting with, especially with the release of Phantom Liberty coming out this month. And again, didn't talk about it, but because of this experience, the experiences prior to this, getting PR talk from teaching from Ubisoft and CD Projekt, the article was perfectly fine. I know this, but it's something to be wary of. So it's understanding that. So that's one of the big reasons. The other reasons is you're still learning your craft, right? And that's so important to you and to your growth. So making sure you're taking time to constantly learn is where I'd invest my time first versus sharing. Just my opinion for that. I think it's a better one as well. And it's just important to keep that mindset of constantly learning. It's the same always, but I just think it's really important to focus on that versus trying to give a talk, right? The next thing I'll say is, after you got the experience, is then the topic of the talk, right? You can always do a post-mortem or a breakdown of a level you made, right? I think that's always the most simple one. And when I say simple, I mean the obvious answer, not the talk would be simple. But if there's other aspects, I think one thing that's really worth kind of focusing on is going on to a specific aspect. And many of you, if you haven't already, you'll see that I've been releasing some of my talks online for people to listen to, and they're very specific on that of level design. I mean, there's talking about combat, shape theory, spatial composition, mental mapping, and in there. I feel like I forgot one. But it's really more specific elements of level design versus the overall broad aspect of level design. And the reason for that that I recommend is, firstly, one, it helps you learn on that. My first talk was on that of mental mapping. I knew a bit about it, and I obviously had been using it a bit in Cyberpunk as well as Division, but it was definitely not an aspect I felt the most comfortable in. So I was really thinking about, well, maybe this is the chance for me to give the talk and I can learn more about it. And it gave me that opportunity. It gave me a chance to really hyper focus on this topic and learn as much as possible, and obviously start adding in making sure that I was using it in my own aspect, but again also just being such a great teaching element for me. So maybe you could use this as a chance to learn from a certain aspect, a chance for you to share that information that you found, but make sure that you're constantly applying it as well, right? I think, and it depends, right? You'll always hear people talk about like, oh, well, this is great in theory, right? And theory is obviously part of our job, but it's also making sure that thing becomes practical. So I think making sure that you're constantly practicing what you preach is really important too when giving these talks for it. So focus on a topic that you like, make it specific, and I think those elements will help you carry through. And I would say that it doesn't necessarily have to be something brand new, right? And I don't mean that as in copy someone else's work. I mean the fact that we're all working on very different games 9 times out of 10, even if they're in the same genre. There's still elements that are different, right? Mental mapping in multiplayer, say Overwatch, is very different versus mental mapping, say in God of War, right? They're still the same techniques, but they are going to be used slightly different. And it's that kind of aspect that you can really, again, broaden on and use this as a chance to show, again, an even more specific example for that. So I think that's really important for that, making sure you focus on, like I said, a certain topic, research that and like no other as well. Now, when it comes to that of the actual presentation, I really strongly recommend that you do take the time in having a graphic designer help you out. Now, again, that will cost you money, and 9 times out of 10, you don't really make money from these talks, which we're not going to talk about on this because I think I'd get myself in trouble from it. But the reason I recommend is, one of the best tips I got when giving a talk is that you don't really want to be reciting what's on screen, right? Like, whatever you're saying is kind of a compliment towards what's on screen, so people can read it while you're talking and expanding on it, right? And if that's the case, make sure it looks good, because I've seen so many great talks that had just awful looking presentations. I think for most time it doesn't necessarily matter, but I think it's important because, again, you only get one chance to make a good impression, right? And all these people coming to see you really are wanting to see the best of you. So if you can make that engaging, really go for it. I'm still learning more about this. I think each presentation has gotten better and better at this, and I obviously now have incredible team with me, both here on the podcast and on outside aspects, who I work with for the books as well, with great, incredible graphic designers that have helped provided the best work that they can to elevate my own. So find that style, and don't just have, you'll know this from me because I say this every time when it comes to portfolios, white background with black text, or even the reverse. I think that's now become so overly used, night mode, right? So think about what you can do to make it your brand. Sometimes you can use the aesthetic of a game as well. Like, for example, it won't be out yet, but I'll be sharing my Cyberpunk talk soon. CD Projekt Red did not provide me with any assets, which is completely fine because I don't work there. So I asked if it's okay that, I make this look how I want to look, again, making sure we respect the brand. They said yes, and spoke with my graphic designer, Kasia, and she did an incredible job. Me and her went back and forth, talked about which elements we want, the color schemes for main menus, as well as the marking material, and man, it just came together so well. Honestly, I feel that every conference I've gone to with that talk has been the most visually incredible talk. Just looking on the visual aspect, that doesn't make everything better, but it just an aspect I was very proud of what Kasia had done, and then myself building on that as well. And I think that's important for that, because again, think about games. It's a visual medium, as is many others, so why not make it engaging and spending the time? Now again, that does cost money, so I'm not expecting everyone to be able to do that. But learning more elements of principal graphic designs is super important. So take time to think about that and what you can do with it. And kind of branching off that, in the next part of this is how you deliver the information, right? There's a time where, a picture speaks 1,000 words, right? But at the same time, there's better ways to show it than just a picture. You can use diagrams, very different diagrams, bullet points, animated images, GIFs, all of this, right? So think about how you're going to deliver your point. What's the best way to keep that engaging for it? And I think that's just super important for all of us to think about. As I've seen so many, again, great presentations, but it was just bullet points that they had on it, and that was all it was going to be. And maybe some images here and there. And we can make those images interactive, where, for example, it has maybe it's a floor plan, and then we add elements of icons of where the enemies are, and then we add arrows for the path that the player is supposed to take, etc., right? Those things make it feel far more alive, and also make it far more engaging. To understand, okay, they placed the enemies originally here, then they moved it to here, then the player's path is this. Great information instead of bullet points of player arrives, player turns left, player turns right. So spend that extra time thinking, how do I deliver this information, right? And again, I'm sharing this from my point of view, where I have made those mistakes as well, where I have not really given the best graphs for it. And I think it's just another unique way to keep the players engaged. I don't think text can be fully avoided, and I think it's actually okay to have text. If you are going to have a block of text, make it possible to skim read, highlight the important information on there. I think those can help to break it down. So think there about how do you deliver the information? How is it that it can be seen from everyone to keep it, again, snappy and visually engaging for that? And the other kind of point is the main one is rehearse, right? Constantly take that time to just practice. It's not fun, and you will learn, oh, maybe this is too long, maybe this is too short. How do I expand it on this? Do I rearrange certain slides, etc.? I think that's really important for it as well, because people have paid money to come to these conferences and to see your presentation. So make it worth their time by making sure that you are prepared. You're going to stumble, let's just make this absolutely clear, for it, and that's okay. You don't need to get it perfect, word for word off the script, but you do need to make sure that you know what's coming up on each slide and what it is that can be expanded on this. As to me, that's super important for everyone who's in there, for everyone who wants to see this presentation. And then my final one is kind of accepting the wrongs, and what I mean by that is technical issues. I think when I started early out, I'd always get like so frustrated, and then you could see that when I was presenting, get demoralized and feel like, why was I bothering being up on that stage? Now it happens, I'm just like, it is what it is. This is out of my control, but I can still keep the crowd entertained and deliver what we've rehearsed for this. So I really recommend, again, making sure that you understand that things are out of your control and you can only do so much. So spend the time doing that. Make sure you take some seconds to breathe, or whatever it is, to calm your emotions, and don't retaliate, respond, right? I think is the best way to look at it from that point of view. So making sure that you can keep the energy of the viewers engaged, right? Again, if you've got to hold it for an hour, it's a really long time for it, which is why it's important to deliver information in different ways, not just one way where that just be solid GIFs or text, but also in ways where you can keep the energy up high, right? There's ways that you can engage the crowd, make them move, stand up, clap their hands, elements like that where they have some form of movement can instantly get them far more engaged. Because that jokes can work, but again, this is more of a comment on myself than anyone else out there. I'm not as funny as I think I am, and it's not a stand-up show, which I am not prepared for. So I think, again, taking that time to just make sure you bring your personality across, and just keep in mind that people are spending their time here. So make them feel at ease, make them feel that they are involved and that there is information they're gaining from that. So yeah, they're all the ones that I would give to everyone, because I want more people to talk about level design. I think it's great. It's been a real shame, because I had some other people talk to me about this during my time going to these conferences, that the LD resources we had, there's not as much out there, right? Like Level Design Podcast, incredible team out there. They're just super busy and haven't put something out in a while. Jack and his team, that are all great for Rules of Play, they're on another hiatus. Again, I imagine they're also busy. What did we have? Design Den by Ryan, another good one, but it's been a while. So sadly, we've had great information, but sadly, just due to projects and time, it seems that there's not as much amazing stuff out there as I'd love there to be, as I'm sure many of you would as well. So taking that step forward and giving it a try, just do a 20-minute talk if that's the first thing you want to do. I think that's fine. Find your style, make sure people are reviewing it, and I think it'll go great from there. So I really just want to take this time to encourage people. Dan, I'm looking at you especially. Go out, give talks. You'll really love it in the long term. It's great to meet people. It's great to go see the world as well. From this, I've been able to go see multiple countries because of this, and it's been fantastic. So, yeah, I just want to, again, encourage more and more people to do that. So thank you. I hope you found these tips useful, and if you do talk, let me know. I would always love to see it. So thank you all very, very much. If you want to reach out to me, you can do so at leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. Get in contact with me over X/Twitter @MaxPairs. And take care of yourselves, right, everyone? See you all next time. Take care. Bye now.